was that error that the IBC made when it decided not to gazette him also as a presidential candidate. So he says that as Third Way Alliance, they're also keen to see that the bad elements in IEBC are done away with, even as he awaits the October 26th poll. Let me come to my guest here in studio. Dan Manzo, what do you have to say about everything that's happening?
First of all, I want to agree with Aukot that the justice system in the country is working. That's why it is surprising to see Jubilee members of parliament led by one of them indicating that we could for a moment do without the judiciary. That's why you saw some people demonstrating against the Chief Justice. You can't do that. You can only go to a referendum if you do not want judiciary at all. So we want to be very happy and thank the courts for upholding the law. That is really going to stabilize the country. But I also want to state that the IBC also have a right of appeal. Because the judge may also have erred. And then also want to say that this judgment is also overtaken by events. After the events of yesterday, which were actually processed a few days before, and we have a letter to that effect, though he has been allowed to run and the law has been upheld, he's already been overtaken by events. It may not be applicable. And that's why you hear him say he wants to engage IBC again, and he wants to be part of the dialogue. He wants to be part of what is happening in the country, which is a right. You cannot deny that party. However small that party is, it must enjoy that right.
And is NASA uncomfortable? This has just happened, but are we likely to see NASA also, to some extent, moving to court to appeal this decision?
Any Kenyan can move if they feel that a certain right of the public, what you call a right in rem, or individual right has been aggrieved. But the person with the outright right is the IBC to appeal if they feel that the law has not been followed. You may be surprised. At a different court, the same may be upheld or changed. But as the things as the matters are now, that judgment, though it is right, is being overtaken by events. It did come a few days before. It would have been a different story in the country.
All right.
I agree with Dan's observation. One thing that caught me was when he talked about the issues. Because that leaves a lot to be desired. Those issues, if we were to go into repeat them, I'm seeing a possibility, remote possibility of him saying, you either handle these issues or I'm not there. Because he went ahead and talked about rubber stamp.
Yes.
That he doesn't want to go under rubber stamp what is already done. So I can see a remote possibility of him coming up to say, forget about it. But otherwise, like Dana said, I think the judiciary is working. I believe the judiciary is working. It is the only independent institution in this country that, in my view, is doing what it was supposed to do as an independent institution. The executive has worked and worked very effectively to kill all the other institutions. The parliament is just an extension of the executive.
All right.
You take things like the anti-corruption. It's just an extension of the executive.
All right.
So I think, and we pray that the judiciary keeps us this way for the sake of Wanjiku.
Dr. Njogu Barua, earlier on you had said that you really welcome Ekuru Aukot, being allowed to run because it would mean that, he would go up against Uhuru Kenyatta and would have actually an election come October 26th. But as you've heard there, he also has a number of problems with IBC. Maybe he might end up saying that, you know what, I will not take part in this repeat poll if IBC still maintains the status as is.
I think, Betty, I didn't welcome Ekuru Aukot just because for the simple purpose that he's going to be a candidate against Uhuru Kenyatta. I think I welcome him because, although I'm not a lawyer, I take the determination by the Supreme Court that nullified the presidential election as grossly incompetent. And this is because of one reason. The Honorable Justice Maraga declared the elections null and void. So what he meant is that election never took place. So the issue of saying is only the top two who can go to the next election within 60 days, to me was wrong because the election never took place. What justice should have ordered is he ordered a fresh election. a fresh election does not include discrimination. So by knocking out the other 6 candidates, there was discrimination. So I think I welcome him because he has gotten his right. Let him try his luck. If he is elected president, so be it. But the other thing I want to say is that it is coming out clearly to NASA supporters that this election cannot take place when Raila is not there. This country is bigger than an individual. So if Raila opts out of the race, we can still continue because we need to save this country. We need to move on. The other issue on judiciary, I've heard the contribution by that member of parliament, I think is Maoka Maore, saying we can do without judiciary. I don't really want to associate myself with that fully, but because we really need the judiciary. What I can say is that it is also very, very worrying and an issue of very big concern to have a Supreme Court which does not look to be stable. The Supreme Court should be stable, should inspire confidence of each and every Kenyan.
Why would you say that doesn't look stable?
Every Kenyan should know that if I got the Supreme Court, well, because there are so many issues that came out after the ruling. First of all, like even in Parliament, if you go to committees and you have an interest, you declare it as standing order number 90. So this issue, these judges, some of them had actually prior associations with some of the leadership of this country on both sides. They should have declared it as part of their ruling because now, when these disclosures are coming of the ruling, the Mwananchi, the Wajikos, and the Thiambos are starting to cast aspersions on the neutrality of that determination.
All right, we have to wrap up, but you want to
yes, there's something I want to rectify. The court held that there was no election. It is IBC who misinterpreted, instead of inviting all the candidates to participate, decided that it was a rerun. So it is not a mistake of the Supreme Court. It is the misinterpretation of the Supreme Court judgment by IBC. IBC would have as well invited everybody. But the law is so clear right now, with the withdrawal, with the abandonment of Raila Odinga yesterday, all candidates, including Aukot, are now allowed to run while we make reforms. And I can assure you, Aukot has a lot of issues with IBC because he brought them to court. In fact, he was a candidate who was most robbed. The irregularities were so major in his own running, such that he has every right to go to court. So I really want to disagree with Dr. Barua because the judges were very clear. They just nullified the election. They never gave further direction. They said there was no election. So it is IBC who misinterpreted the judgment of the court. The Supreme Court is fair, and the whole judiciary as a whole now is independent, and it is running its matters independently.
All right. Final thoughts, Ambassador.
I want to end like I ended last time I was in this studio. That we are on a slippery slope as a country. And if our leaders, if our 2 leaders are going to listen to their lieutenants, then we are going into very serious problems. They have to recognize that we are in danger. This country is in danger. It is split, and we're bound to land into crisis. So let them forget about the chest stamping and recognize that we have a country to take care of for the sake of everybody. Let the president recognize that he's a president, not just of Jubilee. He's a president of 40 million plus Kenyans. And the moment he demonstrates that he is a president of 40 million Kenyans, perhaps other people can start softening.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. A good way to wrap up this heated conversation that we've been having for about 2 hours now. I've been having and speaking to Ambassador Jack Tumwa. He is a representative of Wanjiru, but he also served in the ECK as a commissioner. We also have had Dan Manzo, who's a Makueni member of parliament and is also a legal mind. And in our City Center studio, we had Dr. Barua Njogu, who is the former Gishugu member of parliament. Thank you very much for your time. All right, so we have to wrap up our coverage this morning, but we wrap up with another story that we want to highlight. And thousands of primary school teachers in Nigeria's North Kaduna state are to be sacked after failing the exams they set for their 6-year-old pupils. State Governor Nasir El Rufai said 21,790 teachers, 2/3 of the total, had failed to score 75% or higher on assessments given to the pupils. He said 25,000 new teachers will be recruited to replace them. El Rufai made the comments at a meeting with World Bank representatives in the state capital of Kaduna. Very interesting, very interesting developments there from Nigeria. But of course, here at home, as you've seen in the last 2 hours in our coverage, you have quite a number of things to deal with. Ekuru Aukot has been allowed to run. Of course, we're expecting that direction from the Supreme Court with regard to Wafula Chebukati's case. He's asking to know really what his role is as the National Returning Officer in verifying results that come out from the different constituencies. Apart from that, also, we're following up on the anti-IEBC demos by NASA supporters. You've seen them. They've started in earnest in Kisumu and here in Nairobi, gaining momentum slowly. But of course, we're able to see what's going to be happening as the day progresses. Here on KTN News, we are set to give you the latest details of all these developing stories. But I wind my time right now. My name is Betty Kello. This has been News Center. Thank you so much for all the thoughts I've seen on my Twitter handle. Thank you for participating and interacting with me. So we wind up things here. We'll see you again tomorrow. God bless. Thank you very much.